We are back. Popcorn in the face, react and review. Today, me and Matthew are talking about Spider-Man Brand New Day. I'm your host, Connor Busella, joined by my co-host, Matthew Iorio. Really quick before we get into any of the details of the movie, you saw this movie today. I saw this movie Friday evening, and the theater was absolutely packed. How was your theater setup when you got there?
It was definitely full. I know it was like a last minute addition screen time. We looked at times a few days prior and everything was filled. And then I went with my siblings and my wife and my brothers who snag tickets because they added like a last minute, like 11:50 a.m. showing and it was still packed.
Yeah, that's every time I've seen a new showing come up for it. I'm like, oh, they added another one. This one's pretty open. And then I'll check like a little bit later and it's completely packed. My showing was Friday night at 11:40. And when I got there, it was the most packed I've ever seen that theater. When I got out, it was about 2:30 in the morning. And there was a showing of the Odyssey that started at 2:30 in the morning. The theater was still packed at 2:30 in
It's
the morning.
ridiculous.
Um, when I parked, there was people, like there might have been 6 to 10 of those theater discussions going on after the
Mm-hmm.
movie,
Amazing.
like in all different corners of the place. There was a kid taking his picture with the poster, and they're like, then they pass the phone, and the other guy goes over and they take a picture. Like, people were so freaking excited.
Mhm.
There were kids in full Spider-Man costumes.
Incredible.
It was kind of rowdy. I
Hmm.
was almost like a little nervous
Yeah.
during the previews. Like, it was a bunch of teenagers and they're hooting and hollering. Every trailer that would come on before the movie, they would just yell, Spider-Man! And I was like, I hope they're not like this during the movie.
Yeah.
The lights dimmed, not a peep. Not a
Amazing.
peep until the very end of the movie. Then everyone started going
Hmm.
crazy again. Like, it got very rowdy in there.
Hmm.
But a well-behaved group of youngsters.
We love that.
Yeah, it just felt amazing to see that many people out, like people of all different ages, but it was like
Yeah.
a massive. It was a lot of young people were
Mhm.
coming out for this one.
Mm. I think I have to say it. Movies are so back.
They're
We
back.
are
Movies
so
are
back.
back. Oh, movies are back. I mean, we last time we did one of these react and reviews, it was Project Hail Mary,
Hmm.
and that was the last time I felt something. Well, not the last time, because I did go and see the Odyssey very recently, which I was hoping we were going to get to do one of these episodes about
Hmm.
the Odyssey.
And to
But
clarify, felt something about movies, not felt something in general, I hope, in the last 4 months.
no, pretty much, no, no,
Oh, yeah,
yes, felt
devoid of
something about
emotion.
movies. No, this year has had like a lot of phenomenon people rush into the theaters. I
Hmm.
mean, Project Hail Mary was huge.
Yep.
We love Gosling here on this show. Like,
Big
that movie
Gosling fan.
was like tremendous. That was awesome. Amazing IMAX experience for that
Hmm.
one. And then we got that kind of Barbenheimer effect 1-2 punch with Backrooms and Obsession. And those movies way outperformed what was expected.
Even right before that, we had Devil Wears Prada too, which I feel like was an
Yep.
early summer kind of nice
Hmm.
light kickoff movie.
Yeah, and that's not to mention the Minions, which I think is underperforming compared to other Minions movies. But then Toy Story 5
Yes,
was Super Mario Galaxy this year.
it was. You're right.
I mean, big on all fronts,
Mhm.
animation, epics with the Odyssey. I mean, that movie is pacing like crazy. Like,
Yeah.
it just feels different this year. This 2026 feels different. It's been kind of a slow build since
Hmm.
COVID, but
Yep.
specifically with Marvel too. I mean, things have been kind of bleak as a Marvel fan in the past few
Yes.
years, maybe even longer than that. Um, but for this movie to come out, I mean, we grew up on all the Toby Spider-Mans. I know Spider-Man's a really important character to both of us.
Hmm.
So to go and see this one was amazing. Movies are back, confirmed.
We are so back.
But we are here today to discuss Brand New Day, the newest entry in the Tom Holland Spider-Man series, a new addition to the MCU. which, as we just said, those haven't been the best lately. So we've got Brand New Day, directed by Destin Daniel Cretton, starring Tom Holland as Spider-Man, Peter Parker, spoiler alert, Zendaya as MJ, John Bernthal as Frank Castle, the Punisher. Basically, just the cast from the Odyssey.
Yeah.
We
Shifted
got a
over to a
lot
different
of
movie.
lot of repeat characters.
Hmm.
um, but we're going to start off today by just doing kind of a general spoiler review, a spoiler free review, before we kind of dive through the plot and get into some other fun little things we have planned. Um, we texted very briefly earlier after you got out of the movie, and we both refrained from sharing any opinions with each other. And I'm proud of us, because normally that's like the first thing we do after we see a movie is
Hmm.
let each other know if it's worth seeing or not. But I would like to know, what was your spoiler free reaction to watching this movie?
I had a really good time with this movie. It was really interesting. The movie starts, and like I said, like you mentioned, this is a spoiler free section. The first 10, 20 minutes, I'm really enjoying it. I'm kind of like apprehensive. I totally trust Tom Holland. All the Spider Man Tom Holland MCU movies have been awesome. But just like you kind of hinted at before, the state of Marvel post Endgame, post COVID, like 2020 has been pretty perilous, been pretty bleak. And I'm like, okay, I'm enjoying this. This is great, or this is good. But I'm like, is this really going to be great? Am I just going to feel like this is like a pretty decent movie? But as the movie kept going on, it just kept building upon itself and building upon itself. And overall, I thought it was awesome. And I don't know, I feel kind of weird in a way to have another like this is going to be a glowing review of a movie as we get into this deeper during this podcast, because I know the only other react and review we've done for our show so far was Project Hail Mary, which we both loved, and it was an hour of us just like talking the movie up so much. But
Yeah.
honestly, I had a great time. I thought it was very much Tom Holland Spider-Man esque, but they made the tone just a little bit darker, as we know from the third installment on No Way Home. His friends, the world forget his identity. He's kind of on his own. He's kind of forced to be made the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, the street level crime fighter, with the true secret identity for once. No one in the world knows who he is anymore. I thought they really played well on kind of that concept and that tone, and him really kind of being this. I don't know if I want to say lone wolf, but he's this, doing everything by
Yeah.
himself. He's a solo street level vigilante. You feel the weight of him kind of shouldering the burden of being this superhero, having no one know who he is, or really no close contacts at all. It
Hmm.
may
I know it
obviously,
seems like his closest friends are like a member of the police, and like,
yeah,
yeah, he
and
just doesn't have anyone in his life anymore.
exactly. Yeah, it's so I'll keep my this part brief. I'll kick it to you in a
Yeah.
second. But I thought it was a nice darker tone. I thought they stayed true to the character. I like kind of what they did with like the villain, the premise of the movie, and the various kind of like pairings and who they matched up with who. They didn't try to force humor. I thought the other three movies had really great humor.
Hmm.
You can tell they prioritized humor a little bit. This one took more of a back seat, but there was still natural humor throughout the movie, and I thought that was still very effective when it was sprinkled in here or there. It made
Hmm.
sense. It wasn't forced at all. And yeah, I don't want to get too much into it now, but
I know.
yeah, I had a great time
It's difficult to
overall.
talk about it
I,
without
I
revealing too much.
exactly. All I want to say is movies are back. I don't think the MCU is back, but you can't go wrong with a Tom Holland
Yeah,
led
TBD.
Spider-Man movie
Yeah, Marvel still has a lot to prove, but
for sure.
this movie kicked ass. Like,
Hmm.
it was a lot of fun. I agree with you completely. I think it went for that darker tone. It was definitely more grown up. That first trilogy, specifically the first and second, were very John Hughes coming of age high school vibe,
Hmm.
and I loved that. But it was
For
very
sure.
teenage Spider-Man, and this is a more grown up Spider-Man. He's not having another hero over his shoulder guiding him like we've seen in the last three
Great
movies
point.
with Tom Holland. It was just like much more grounded. Where that movie left us, where No Way Home left us, like you said, there was the spell. I mean, he lost Aunt May. She passed away, R.I.P. Um, there was all his closest friends, the other heroes. they've all forgotten him, and it really acted like a good reset. And I know we discussed it after seeing that movie. It put this character of Spider-Man in a spot where he could be that old school,
Mhm.
grounded, solo, friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, with the identity. Like, they got back to basics here, and I know
Absolutely.
that's what we were hoping for, and I think they executed it. With it being a big MCU movie, they executed the fairly smaller story, grounded, but still with stakes. It was
Definitely.
more serious, but it had humor, like you said. I mean, it was it was really good. I enjoyed it quite a bit.
Mhm.
Um, Before we kind of shifted up, I just want to shout out the action in this. Was like the fight choreography throughout this movie, I thought was by far the best.
Yes.
I think this was by far the best Tom Holland performance in any of his Spider-Man movies or Avenger movies. I think he was really good in this one. Um, it was just really cool to see them kind of bounce back and kind of nail this one.
Yeah.
All right, do we want to get into some spoilers?
Yeah, let's jump right
Because
into it.
it's
There's a lot
tough
to
to
talk about.
talk
Yeah.
about. um, the movie was awesome. We're about to get into some of the spoilers, so this is your spoiler warning. If you don't want to have anything revealed, I recommend you go see this movie. Spoiler warning, spoiler warning, spoiler warning. All right, what is your spoiler filled reaction to it?
There's a lot to touch on, but like I'll first start with the point you made about kind of going back to basics. I feel like they definitely did everything in reverse with the Spider-Man kind of saga with Tom Holland. He
Hmm.
got pulled in Civil War, and he's getting right into the mix. He's kind of skipping the origin story, street level stuff, which was intentional, skipping the origin
Hmm.
story.
Yeah, we didn't have to watch him get bit by a spider. We already saw
Right.
Tom and Andrew get bit.
Exactly.
We
So
know.
he's yeah, we get it. So he starts, in the big team ups with all the big, villains and co-stars and other famous superheroes, and then it takes 3 movies to bring him back to okay, no, you're gonna be kind of like your street level New York City crime
Hmm.
fighter, and like you said, he really was the guy in this.
Hmm.
So touching on the spoiler stuff, like Bruce Banner and the Hulk features in this movie, and they loosely team up, but then as we know, Jean Grey controls him and he loses control. We see the first Hulk freak out, the true Hulk form
Man,
from
that was
Infinity
awesome.
War. Yeah, first time since Infinity War we see that version of Hulk, and even Peter's like, "Whoa, like I didn't know you can get that big." And it's like, "Oh yeah,
Hmm.
like when they kind of mix Bruce and the Hulk, he's kind of in this middle size,
Yeah,
power,
and that was
everything."
like the opening scene to Infinity War also. Like, we
Exactly.
went the whole rest of that movie without seeing that
It's
version
yeah,
of Hulk. We got Smart Hulk, we got
mhm,
Banner with technology. Like,
right.
it was fucking awesome to see the Hulk rage out again.
Yeah, it was amazing. Like I said, it's been 8 years since we've seen that version.
That's
But
crazy.
just like so like even with Bruce Banner and the Hulk in this movie, he wasn't there kind of in the Tony Stark Iron Man capacity, which first of the 4 Spider-Man movies that they don't mention Tony Stark once. So hats off to them for not
Hmm.
doing that. But he wasn't there in a mentor capacity. He was just there as a supporting character. So like in that to that effect, Tom Holland Spider-Man truly
Hmm.
was the lead guy. He's taking the lead. He was the person. He wasn't kind of anyone's little brother in this movie.
Yeah, Banner was like way less used than I thought he was going to
Same.
be.
Yep.
Um, who was used a lot more that I really enjoyed was John Bernthal, Frank Castle. The
Yes.
Punisher was
Mhm.
heavily featured throughout this movie, and I loved every single scene that he was in.
He's
I am
so
a
good.
very big John Bernthal fan.
Mhm.
Um, I didn't feel like they neutered him too much
Yep.
as far as, taking his like gritty, rated R, foul mouthed self from the Netflix series.
Yep.
I thought this like just slightly, less offensive and less murdery version of him was like really funny, and
Yeah.
him and Tom Holland had fantastic chemistry.
Definitely. Yeah, I agree with you. They definitely didn't really neuter him, which you worry going from
Hmm.
all, no bars hold like type of Netflix Disney Plus shows where they let him do whatever the fuck he wants. He's
Yeah.
F bombing, he's murdering left and right, like you're saying, he's doing
Hmm.
some heinous shit. And then you put him in an MCU big film movie with Spider-Man that draws a lot of kids.
Hmm.
It's like, all right, is this gonna be a very,
Yeah.
soft version of Frank, but they really didn't hold back, like you said. I think it's just you take away the F bombs and you don't see him outright murder people, but
Hmm.
just with his
He
other
goes to use
demeanor.
the F bomb and then got webbed. That
Yes,
was a funny bit.
exactly.
I liked that.
That was a good bit, and yeah, just still a lot of swearing, saying shit a lot, calling Peter like soft served at one point. I thought was
Yeah.
pretty funny.
Soft
So
serve bullshit or
yeah,
something like that.
he's
That was
trying to
funny.
kill people, but Peter's like stopping him. So you really
Hmm.
get, I think, Frank Castle as much as you can get in an MCU movie.
Oh yeah. Um, I think we should kind of go through the basic beats of the movie, and we'll just kind of stop when we've got something to talk about. So I
Hmm.
figured there's no better spot to start than this opening. I loved this opening. The opening was the montage that showing us our perspective of Peter's 4 years since No Way Home.
Hmm.
No Way Home ends. His friends forget who he is, and they go to MIT, and we get this montage of him fighting his various villains, and they're doing the comic splash pages and
Yes.
covers and stuff. Loved that.
Hmm.
All while he's kind of Instagram story stalking his best friend and his girlfriend, or former former best friend and former girlfriend. Um, Really getting into that like gritty loneliness that he's been living in. That he's just full time Spider Man, no Peter. I thought that was fantastic. It felt like from the previews that that's exactly how this movie was going to start. I
Hmm.
mean, we're getting even in like the first trailer, we saw the oh, it's our first week at MIT and the it's our last week at MIT. It's like assuming that the whole movie wasn't going to be taking place over those 4 years. It was
Right.
assumed that it was going to be in this montage format, but
Hmm.
I thought it was perfect. The great way to launch us back into it, catch us up on what's going on.
Yeah, definitely. I thought that was very effective, as we know, kind of the conventions and the structure of
Mhm.
screenwriting. That beginning part is okay. We got to get the viewers caught up to where they need to be, get them caught up to speed with this world. Like you said, they really kind of just breeze through those last 4 years really effectively and really quickly. Didn't
Mhm.
really waste much time, but we got a good flavor of okay, what have MJ and Ned been up to, what has Peter been up to. I love them, including all those like comic book villains we haven't seen, because like sure he saw the Vulture and Mysterio and stuff, but like we didn't get tons of like Spider-Man ish villains over the
Mhm.
different movies. But they really crammed in a bunch of people. Like they talk about the Hand, Scorpion's back, Tombstone, which I want to do shout out to Tombstone, who
I Yeah, Tombstone was who I thought was one of the biggest of Spider-Man villains because I don't have many comics, but the few comics that I do have are all Spider-Man versus the Tombstone. So I
amazing.
always thought he was so big, and
Yeah.
we got him for 30 seconds on screen finally.
Yeah, and I want to give a shout out to the actor Marvin Jones III, who voiced Tombstone in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, the animated
Oh,
movie. So they
nice.
purposely brought him back as Tombstone, and that's how he
I
looks
did not know
naturally
that.
too.
That's very
So
cool.
yeah, so I wanted to mention that real quick. But I love the little montage of all the people and some other villains that I can't even remember, but I know they threw in real quick. But when I
Yeah,
did
there
a
was
Google search,
Tarantula and Boomerang.
yep,
Those were two villains that I wasn't even aware of
yeah,
really.
yeah,
But cool, we got, his actual rogues gallery, and they're not all, you know, Tony Stark villains, basically.
exactly, yeah,
We've kind of moved on from that, and
hmm
he's saving New York City. That moves us along to Peter's getting these like text alerts that felt very video game like, oh, there's a robbery, oh, there's this,
hmm
getting it on his phone and taking off into action. And it was the tank chase. So tank chase is what introduces us into the Punisher being involved in the story, and we get just some fantastic web swinging through New York City,
hmm
as this van is, or not the van, but this tank is making its way to the damage control facility, where it eventually crashes into the facility, and we're
hmm
kind of inching our way into discovering this villain of the story.
hmm
Um, I know we already kind of talked about the Punisher being involved, but I thought this was just a great he's here too scene, and we're
yeah,
getting just there.
yeah.
They have some rapport already. It wasn't the
Yes.
first time
Their
they'd met.
banter shows that they've
Yeah,
developed this relationship over time. They've had many
yeah,
encounters at this point.
I loved it. I thought it was
Also,
great.
talking about the Punisher and the humor, the subtle humor in this movie, Frank pulling out like a rocket launcher or whatever, a grenade launcher, Peter
Mhm.
taking it away and pulling out another one immediately, like that got a good laugh out of me.
Oh yeah, No, that was very funny because you know that that has happened before, and he didn't
Yeah,
have the backup, so he came prepared.
yeah.
Wouldn't have been surprised if there was a third
I
one
was
in
waiting for it. That honestly, to me, sometimes things done a third time would be overdone, but I feel like that wouldn't have been overdone if they
Yeah,
had done
I
that.
agree. Um, he's trying to shoo him off. He doesn't want people to get hurt.
Hmm.
And he's just shooting rocket launchers down the street in New
Yeah,
York
just through
City.
the streets of New
Just
York.
no or no
Yeah.
regard for other human
Hmm.
life. Hits Spider-Man with a rocket at one point,
Hmm.
and he gets him out of the fight. He kicks him right out of his van in a plume of guns and other rockets and whatnot on the
Hmm.
street. Um, and he finally catches up to this van or this tank crashing through this facility where it's revealed it's being piloted by an old woman who seemed very confused. Um, really liked that body jumping effect that they had in this movie.
Yeah.
This was the first of many scenes where we get to see that, but I thought that was really cool. Of okay, we're not up against like necessarily a solo person; it could be anybody, and at many points, it's many different people. Thought that was very cool.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree with
Jumping around through there.
the way they showed that, because it's in an animated movie, you could draw probably lines about like
Hmm.
showing the character jumping through, or like kind of almost like a like Avatar: The Last Airbender. They like animate the air, even though in real life you
Hmm.
can't see the air. So in animation, they could have animated the body moving from person to person. But in this, they had to find an effective way to show where they're going. I think the kind of the lurching, the throwing of the body.
Yeah,
I thought that was
really good physical acting by like
yeah.
everyone who was
Hmm.
inhabited by this force. It was
Right,
just like they're flailing for a moment and then they redirect and start running, and then
right.
you see another person beyond them do the same thing.
I would be
Thought that
pretty
was
self
really cool.
conscious if I was like the fifth person in a scene. They screw up their lurching, like, oh, we got to redo it.
We got to start over.
Everyone do it
Back to
again.
one.
Yep.
Um, this whole sequence leads to Matt Gargan, the Scorpion, being released from prison, and
Hmm.
it's body jumping all the way up to the roof, getting Scorpion in that helicopter, and then taking over the pilot, and they're off. So whatever this force is, which we're in the spoiler zone, it is Jean Grey is
Yes.
inhabiting these bodies, is after him for some reason.
Hmm.
Um, Spider-Man, seeking information, reaches out to his contact with the new Avengers. This was one of the better scenes I thought in the
Yeah.
movie. This was very funny, at least one of the funniest scenes,
Hmm.
where Yelena, Florence Pugh, asks him to meet her in her office, which was a Russian bathhouse in New York City, where she just soaks in a tub and takes meetings. Um, I thought this was really funny, making him strip down and he keeps his mask
Yeah.
on. That was a great bit. Um, and kind of getting information, across the table, but in a tub, I thought was just like a very funny use of furthering the plot
Yeah.
while tying in one of the other more successful movies of the past few years.
True. I also like how they did this type of scene with Yelena too, being a female character, and
Hmm.
her just kind of, I don't know, just kind of, I want to say flipping on its head, like gender dynamics,
Yeah.
gender like power structure. Looking for the
Hmm.
right kind of phrasing here, but usually you'd have like a male character. I feel like that scene's been done before. They're not like a bath or a steam room, and the male character is like naked or half naked with like, a little towel on, and they use it as
Hmm.
kind of like a power
Oh, get
play.
in.
So yeah,
Strip,
assert their
get in.
dominance. So I
Yeah.
kind of thought it was funny and unique and interesting to kind of have like a female character do this to Peter,
Hmm.
the male character being kind of shy and purposely keeping his mask on, obviously to hide his identity, but
Yeah.
just the the little bit of humor doing that to him, kind of being shy and bashful still, though he's like low key ripped getting into the into the pool.
Yeah. And the one of the funnier lines of the movie, the like, you're not completely anonymous anymore. I've seen your belly button,
Yeah.
was very funny.
Mhm.
Um,
Also,
but
want to
this,
say
oh yeah, go
like
ahead.
having her included in this movie as a way to kind of remind the people that Peter is still a part of the bigger picture, even though people don't know his
Hmm.
true identity right now. Like he's still a part of the grand scheme of the
Yeah,
MCU.
but she always reminds him he's small potatoes,
Yeah.
she's big potatoes.
Hmm.
She handles the big threats, he handles the street level stuff. So I mean, I think
Exactly.
he's happy in that role, but it was a good way of, without just kind of laying out exposition, it was reminding us, okay, she is one of the new Avengers. They're also in New York. You know, carrying on with their roles and kind of showing us where Spider-Man falls in comparison to some of these larger team groups. You know, now that everyone's forgotten everything.
Right.
This gives us the red herring of the movie. The VMAX is something
Hmm.
that they're hunting for, like the next 90 minutes of this movie. They're trying to figure out what this is. Um, and that sends Peter to the damage control headquarters to meet Tremel Tillman's Bill Metzger. Um, so clearly and obviously a bad guy, like the
He
second we
plays
see
a
him.
great sly bad guy. He really does. Also love his upgrade with his beard and haircut from his Severance character. I know this
Mhm.
character in that was purposely looked like that. He looks so much cooler this way. He
He does look very
looks so
cool.
much better.
And I didn't even feel like I've heard some criticism being like, oh, he was so obviously, you know, nefarious. And it's like, I don't even think the movie was trying to trick us that badly.
Yeah, and honestly, it's
It's,
like I feel like you usually see this stuff coming, and like I felt like there's something there with them. But even so, though, I feel like the whole time they'd hit it semi well in a way where like you from the beginning you kind of expect him to kind of have
mhm,
something up his sleeve. Okay, he's not going to be a great person, but I don't think I expected him to be as bad as he was in the end. So I think that was
yeah.
even kind of effective. They kind of showed a little bit, but didn't show everything.
Yeah. Um, where does that bring us next? After that, we have Peter runs into Ned buying beer. Um,
A good
one
way to
thing we
show
haven't
that they've
even,
aged up a little bit too. That Ned's
I
capable of buying beer.
yes, yep, yep. This is post grad Ned
Yeah.
buying mini kegs, and Peter, who was on his way to dropping off flowers at Aunt May's grave, decides to just take those flowers and stalk Ned to the party that he's having. Which I really liked this party sequence.
Yes.
Um, the getting into their place, very well settled in for housewarming party. I mean, Ned had the full "Who is Spider-Man" red yarn set up.
Yes.
Like, did he bring that from somewhere
He just
else, or did
transitions it
he?
over.
Um, but their housewarming party, and it gave us Peter and MJ back on screen together.
Mhm.
She just unfortunately had no idea who he was.
Yeah.
And what did he say his name was?
Maynard. He's like
Maynard.
Maynard, Maynard,
Maynard.
Maynard. Yeah.
I don't know why throughout this movie he kept using fake names because nobody even knows what a Peter Parker
Right.
is. Everyone's had magic delete that from their brains. That just doesn't make sense to me.
Hmm. I
Um,
do want to say for this
yeah.
party scene too, you mentioned loving it. I loved it too. I thought it was really effective. Gets the gang back together, kind of starts getting their dynamic
Hmm.
set up for the movie. Mixing this with earlier, you mentioned Peter following along in the opening montage on like Instagram and stuff, seeing what his friends are up to. The movie felt very present too. I know Marvel's attempted to kind of do that with some of their movies, but you still feel really much set in the Marvel world and not kind of the present day world a lot of the
Hmm.
times. But like in this movie, I think I can't remember if it was heading into this scene or right before or after, but "Loser" by Tame Impala played.
Oh
And we're like,
yeah.
oh. And Tame Impala's been, popular for years at this point, but I feel
Hmm.
especially this like last year, some of their songs have gotten really, really big. They're kind of up on the charts again. So I'm like Tame Impala nod. I'm like, you don't
Yeah.
always hear that in Marvel. Okay, this feels very 2026. And then when they're at the party, they have like the background party music, and I feel like a lot of times in Marvel they could easily just play some bullshit stock music, whatever.
Hmm.
It's so unimportant, they don't even spend time on it. It's just kind of filler noise in the background. They played "Fire for You" by Cannons, which is a song I've known for years, but like a year ago I remember hearing it again like in a store somewhere. I'm like, oh, I love this song, and I added it to my Spotify and I've been listening to a bunch the past year. So for those that might not be familiar with it, look up "Fire for You" by Cannons. And that's also a recent song too, and it's
I'm
been
gonna look
floating
that
around a
up. I
lot.
didn't notice that.
Yeah, it like instantly like I picked up on it, and I had to mention to Alyssa later. I'm like, oh my god, Fire Fuse in the party scene. Like that stuck out to me for some reason. I love that music choice. To me, it felt like something that would be played at a party
Hmm.
with the kind of crowd you assume these characters would run with today. Kind of
Yeah.
like almost cool, but kind of hipstery, but not quite. Like kind of in that
Hmm.
type of, yeah, you're very much like 22, 23 years old.
Yeah. Yeah, which that party didn't quite feel 22, 23
It
years
felt a
old,
little
but it
older.
did have
Yeah.
cool, yeah, cool older kid vibe.
Yeah.
Um, um, so this brief little moment with MJ leads to, they're now in the kitchen. Peter's kind of lurking around the party, and the boyfriend shows up. And that boyfriend showing up sends Peter spiraling.
Yep.
I mean, he dipped immediately, crying, fully clothed, web swinging home in the rain. And one thing that we haven't even mentioned yet is that it had been revealed a couple times that Peter's been having headaches.
Mm.
That's really the only indication that we had gotten that something's going on differently with him. Is I think it was like his wrists hurting and his
Yep.
headaches.
He was rubbing his wrist at one point.
hmm So he gets home and he's bugging, like he's, no pun intended, he's having a tough go after seeing the love of his life kissing another guy. And he notices his eyes are completely blacked over and he faints,
hmm
passes out, hits his head pretty hard on the ground. And as he emerges, he's in a cocoon upside down on the overhang over the alley.
hmm
um, just in his boxers, and doesn't have his web shooters.
hmm
But sure enough, as he's falling, reaches and a web comes out to save him from falling to the ground temporarily.
Yes.
Um, he has now mutated, developed these new abilities, and he goes back inside and sees just a mess of webs that were left behind. Really interesting choice with this one. I Again, this is another thing that the trailer kind of alluded to, the fact that something was changing, and people are speculating: is it like the symbiote? Was it he's turning into Man Spider? Like what's going on with him? And this is the first kind of part of the movie where we're being introduced to
hmm
his changes.
Right.
Did this work for you?
It did. I thought the way they portrayed it worked really well. You bring up a good point. You mentioned those kind of subtle hints at he has headaches,
hmm
his wrist hurts. I picked up on the wrist thing. I don't think I even get thought twice about the headaches earlier in the movie, but they kind of built up to this. And I know later on, I think they touch upon like he goes through this big emotional experience. It was just him
Yeah.
seeing MJ with the boyfriend,
Emotional, damn it!
and that I think they believe they say later like kickstarts kind of this making this transformation kind of speed up a little bit. I thought the way they portrayed it with the eyes and him collapsing and being the cocoon and the organic webbing worked really well. Didn't really know where they were going with this in general, like what the underlying reason was. My guess is this is part of maybe just like having the whole MCU shift towards the mutants being around.
Mhm.
Obviously, with Jean Grey being this movie, that's really them trying to intro that more. I know they had Wolverine in the Deadpool movie, like him floating around from another
Mhm.
universe. But maybe this is kind of shifting Peter into that direction too, like these mutations. I mean, I could definitely be wrong. But
Yeah,
what I
no, I definitely think that had a lot
oh,
to do
okay,
with the fact that we're getting towards mutants, or they've been introduced
right,
in the background, and now we've officially been introduced to
hmm
a main one.
yeah,
Yeah, I
worked,
don't think that's a coincidence.
okay, worked well for me. What are your thoughts on how they did that?
I liked it. Um, there's elements of it that I almost kind of wish they had saved for Symbiote, because I that's
Mm,
just
mm, mhm.
one of the most iconic Spider-Man stories. Is
Yeah,
Venom in the black suit, and that altering him, because I feel like if they did that in the next movie, it would almost be rehashing the rage, super
right.
strong, powerful rage,
hmm
and being overtaken by something that's happening to him. So that almost makes me feel like we're not getting Venom anytime soon, or not Venom, but the symbiote anytime soon.
Right.
Having them done this, but aside from just future wants of seeing that on screen, I think it worked very well.
hmm
I definitely don't think you're wrong with the mutations coming in a movie where we're being introduced to one of the most famous mutants. Um, I did like how they kind of highlighted the emotional trauma and the loneliness as like potential triggers for something like this.
Right.
They kept showing the hormone level, and it was like the Spider-Man or
Yeah.
spider hormones are
Yep.
going up kind of thing. And it was also just a cool way of like, this is Spider-Man. He's been doing it for a long time and he's really good at doing it, as we saw through this beginning montage. And it was a way of kind of putting him, taking him down a notch and having to like relearn something, some personal struggle or
Mhm.
challenge to address while all this other stuff is going on. So I think
Absolutely.
it definitely worked for me.
Mhm.
The reveal of the um, organic webbing and him figuring out he needs to use those because his web shooters are being rejected by the
Mhm.
organic webs. And when he's practicing it, another one of my favorite lines of the movie was, Peter too had these. He was cool. You're cool.
Him gassing himself up. I love that.
Yeah. Really funny web swinging, just like
Mhm.
erratic, spastic
Yes.
web swinging around,
Which
and
I
just
want to say
having
we
that
never
struggle.
got the Peter trying to figure out the web swinging thing like we did in the other Spider-Man
Hmm.
movies. So I feel like we were saying before, back to basics, kind of him street
Yeah.
level. He's kind of relearning certain things. So the first time he had to learn kind of how to web swing that we saw on camera.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, we've already seen him be able to do that kind of
Mhm.
stuff when we first saw him,
Yeah.
and kind of getting off the web shooters and having these organic ones. I
Hmm.
mean, I know comics canon, it's very traditional to have the web shooters, but we grew up on Spider-Man with organic webs.
Right.
Where it was that weird splotch on Toby's wrist that
Yeah.
just the webs came out.
Yeah. And was this the
um,
scene too? Speaking of like the humor, like him talking himself up, was this
mhm.
the scene where he like was massaging his wrist and all like the webbing comes out and he's like, he's like
Gags,
gagging.
yeah, gags when the little bit comes out.
Yeah.
That was very funny. Um, yeah, like it's back to basics. It was the humor. I think this whole him relearning how to handle this, his senses are very
Yes.
sensitive to the noise, and
Hmm.
he's taking in all this information, and it's
Hmm.
overwhelming for him. So I mean, he's getting used to this new him
Hmm.
as he's kind of transitioning into this mutant spider mode,
Right.
which leads us to Scorpion resurfacing. We get the fight between Scorpion and Spider-Man for the second time, and he is inhabited by Jean Grey, who at this point don't know for sure, but we all suspect.
Yeah.
Um, and in the conversation between Jean Grey using Scorpion to Spider-Man, it's identified that he's lost that ability to pick up on, because he used to be able to sense. He could sense the switching, the body hopping. He was really in tune to that, and he's kind of lost that ability, as he's kind of mutating and changing. He's lost that edge, that spider sense edge, which I thought was a really interesting dynamic. Like he's back on his heels and not just dominating people in every fight.
Hmm.
But this leads to him getting really pissed off, going black eye mutant spider mode,
Hmm.
beating the piss out of um, Scorpion, and severely injuring a cop in the process.
Hmm.
Um, kind of take him down a peg here at this point. He's not on his A game, and he's getting other people hurt in the process, which
Yeah,
I thought was really effective for this point in the movie.
for sure. It stays true to his character too that he gives a shit about not accidentally hurting innocent people or
Mm-hmm.
other people that are technically on his side. So I like them, staying true to his character through it all.
Yeah. Um, this leaves us with a Spider-Man who is trying to now control this, um, less integrate it, but more so dampen these new mutant urges and
Hmm.
whatnot, which sends him to Empire State University, where he sits in on a Professor Bruce Banner class. Another really funny spot for some
Hmm.
inserted comedy. His
Yeah.
students asking him Hulk questions instead of
Hmm.
actual schoolwork, I thought was really good.
Yeah, I thought that was smart on their part too, because in a world where there is a Hulk and he's teaching a college class, kids
Hmm.
aren't going to focus all the time. They're going to have a million Hulk
Oh,
related questions. So the fact
definitely
that
not.
they kind of played on that, I was glad they did
Hmm.
that. It was very
Yeah,
self aware.
that was well done. Asking some of those questions that have been asked for several years by
Yeah.
fans and YouTube channels and podcasts
Yes.
within this realm is
Yeah.
the why didn't Thanos just use unlimited power to feed everybody instead of eliminating mouths? That
Hmm.
doesn't make sense. Like, I like when they kind of poke at some of these things, some of these like fan theory things.
Hmm.
Like the other Spider-Man movie, I think it was Far From Home, started with everyone after the snap and then the blip. Everyone had questions of like, what does that look like when people come into it? And it's in the first moments of Spider-Man Far From Home, we see the band reappear in the middle of
Yeah.
a basketball game
Amazing.
and just kind of answer some of these questions with
Yeah.
tongue in cheek. I like that they do that.
Hmm.
Um, but we're introduced to the inhibitor chip, which is keeping Banner in or out of that Hulk form. He's no
Right.
longer a smart Hulk. He has this chip on, which is keeping him in his human form.
Hmm.
The tech is suppressing his literal DNA that is responsible for the Hulk. It's kind of splitting and suppressing that part of his DNA. And Peter really wants to do that for himself. Um, and he is warned not to. I really liked the interactions between Banner and Peter
Yeah.
on the college campus.
Hmm.
I'm glad it was as brief as it was.
Yeah.
I think if he kind of fell into that mentor role, I would have been a little more eye rolly at this, but
For sure.
I did like this just kind of brief interaction, kind of teaches him a little something, asks him
Hmm.
some questions, challenges his thought process,
Hmm.
and then he's out of there.
Yeah.
I liked that.
Yeah, definitely. He very much ends like a means to an end for it. Peter kind of
Mhm.
felt like he was in the driver's seat during that scene. He was getting information from Banner. Banner could tell something else is up, but
Something's off.
Peter didn't really reveal anything. But he felt like he was more in control of what was going on at that point. It
Hmm.
wasn't that kind of mentee type of deal. Like you mentioned that we're glad they didn't go back to again for another movie.
Yeah. So Peter does set out, ignores the warnings, and he sets out to make his own inhibitor chip, which leads to him having his web grenades explode and fly him from the alley out into the street, where he's approached by a young man on the street who is taken over by Jean Grey and is like, you still can't sense me? You can't tell it's me? And then talks some shit, reveals that she's in his apartment, has read the MJ letter, and is on her way to take over MJ,
Hmm.
which gives us a really nice, scrappy, sloppy chase scene, which I did really much. I really do like this part of the movie where
Hmm.
he's kind of losing control
Yes.
and is faltering, and it's just like not on his A game. Like I said before,
Right.
he can barely web swing
Hmm.
effectively. He's crashing into shit.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
Yeah, I mean,
And
it's the growing pains of what he's going through and relearning his body. It's a good
mhm,
natural obstacle within the story. And I'm sure we're about to get to in a second. He shows some really good problem solving towards the end of the sequence, which once again, I'd like that they remember in this movie to repeatedly highlight from time to time that he's really smart, uses
mhm.
brains, he's super strong, he has these abilities, but he also is a very intelligent person.
Yeah, I remind me of his intelligent solution to the end of that.
He kind of picks up on that this hidden villain, which ends up being Gene, obviously, is jumping person to person, and he's
Mm,
noticing they're jumping and not going farther, and he has Evie, his own homegrown or his own made AI, which I found out was voiced by Naomi Watts.
yep.
um, and he has her calculate on the spot, hey, like what is the distance between each jump, each person they're inhabiting, figure out what the average amount is, what is the max distance that they can jump, and they believe they
Okay.
say it's like 33 feet.
Yep, that was
So
the
he,
average or
yeah,
the max
yes,
of the witness jumps.
yeah. So he traps the final jump in the helicopter pilot. He traps that helicopter in a bunch of webbing on like a crane, which is so
Mhm.
far up from anyone else that she can't jump anymore. So it's kind of his problem solving to at that point at least delay that sequence. I believe that was the same sequence there.
Yes, yes, you are correct.
Okay.
And I was having difficulty recalling when exactly that sequence took place because kept getting confused because the first sequence with the body hopping was also leading to a helicopter
Oh yeah,
on
yeah,
the damage control roof.
yes.
So the fact that both those scenes led to someone hopping into a helicopter
Hmm.
confused me a little bit with when the reveal of that was.
Hmm.
So thank you for that. I was a little confused as I was taking my notes today. But this chase to stop Gene from getting to MJ, it did lead us through the wedding, smashing into the wedding where the
Yep.
bride is giving the speech and starts talking shit to Peter too. I thought all that worked really well.
Hmm.
I think that was right before the stopping in the helicopter.
Yes.
But Peter gets to MJ first, or does he? And is like, I gotta protect you. We gotta get out of here. And she just willingly goes, and they get to the roof. And this was probably the most diabolical scene in
Oh yeah.
any of these movies.
Hmm.
Um, the true love's kiss, MJ being like, no, I know you. I just can't remember why. I mean, it's Jean Grey just absolutely weaponizing just psychological warfare on
Yeah.
Peter. Um, the kiss and being like, oh my God, I remember. And the hold her, Peter,
Yeah.
hold her, touch her. And just like the
Hmm.
acting out of Zendaya was phenomenal in this scene. I thought just
Yeah.
going from the Jean pretending to be Zendaya or Jean pretending to be MJ back to Jean in MJ's body was like really good.
Hmm.
And just absolutely devastating for Peter.
Yeah. There's a lot
Um,
of emotional gut punches this movie.
oh yeah, he does. Um, and then kind of loses himself again
Hmm.
and gets rageful and is like, are you going to beat the shit out of MJ's body
Yeah.
because the brain is inhabited? It seems like it for a moment. And that leads to, I didn't take count, but there has been several female love interest falling off the roof of a
I was gonna
building needs
say.
to be saved by Spider-Man
Hmm.
scenes.
I've
We
seen
get
some
another
quotes.
one here. And it seemed like he had learned his lesson of the other Spider-Men may have taught him, don't don't web her and, risk her hitting her head. R.I.P. Gwen Stacy.
Yep.
Um, and he saves her, saves MJ, and is then approached by that driver with
Mm.
Sadie Sink sitting in the back seat. And he's able to get a little meta glasses snapshot of Sadie Sink in the back of that car. Um, all in all, this scene was like really devastating for Peter. I
Hmm.
don't think I was particularly convinced that it was MJ as MJ. I think I was like, in the moment, I was like, okay, there's no way this is how it's been revealed.
Yeah.
And again, it's another one of those. I'm not sure if the movie was trying to trick us, the audience, or if it was just showing us that Peter being tricked is that devastating. And
Hmm.
that's how it worked for me. And I thought that was effective. I'm sure other people are going to think, oh my God, that's MJ. But even the comment that is made by Gene is like, oh my God, true love's kiss breaks
Yeah.
the curse. MJ would hate that.
Yeah.
I thought that was like funny and just cruel.
Yeah. Definitely. I think for me during that scene, if I remember correctly, I thought it was MJ up until they were like about to kiss. And as they're like about to kiss, I'm like, it's sunk in. I'm like, oh no way. I'm like, this is Jean Grey here.
Mm,
Like she is inhabiting them. And up until then though, I think I kind of figured that I didn't think a kiss would like change things for them. I thought maybe, but I thought that wasn't likely. I thought that maybe they'd kiss. MJ wouldn't remember anything. That'd be devastating for Peter, and that'd kind of take the story in a little bit of a different direction.
hmm
But yeah, as they're leaning for that kiss, I'm like, no, you get that like
You're like,
sinking
oh
feeling in your stomach.
no.
Oh no, here it comes, and it was Jean the whole time.
All right. After Spider Man saves MJ from that another fall from a roof, he needs to find somewhere to keep her safe. So he brings her to the Punisher's boathouse hideout, which was a pretty interesting set. He's trying to figure out who the body snatcher is He's trying to protect MJ, and he's trying to fix his inhibitor chip. That's where Spider-Man is at this point in this movie. Those are his objectives. Keeping MJ safe is dropping her off at Frank's. And I liked the bit where he has all the technology needed to fix the
Yeah.
thing because he uses it to make bombs.
Yeah.
Thought
I think
that
I
was
got all
pretty
that
fun.
shit.
I got all that. Like I mentioned before, we got the Meta glasses snapshot of Sadie Sink in the backseat of that car. And he uses that to discover that it is, in fact, Jean Grey. Spoiler alert. We already did that earlier. I know we've all been like 99% sure that it was
Yeah.
Jean Grey since the casting announcement took place like over a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
But it was finally revealed that Sadie Sink is playing Jean Grey.
I think the only guesses for her were either Jean Grey or was it Gwen Stacy, given like
Yeah.
the hair. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was like, is this a love interest or is this
Jean Grey.
and I think the fact, is it Jean Grey? She's appears to be kicking off the X-Men. She's the first like really core character that they brought in. I believe it's been about 7 years since Marvel purchased the rights to the
Fox.
X-Men characters from Fox, that the
Right.
Fox merger. We've had little, Kamala Khan is a mutant. We
Yeah.
heard the X-Men theme in Miss Marvel. The end of the Marvels was the Hank McCoy Beast showed up in the end of that.
And I think that was an
Multiverse
alternate
of
universe.
Madness. Yep, alternate universe.
Mm-hmm.
Multiverse of Madness gave us Patrick Stewart
Mm-hmm.
in his chair. We've had these kind of like otherworldly, multiversal sneak peeks of the X-Men, and that's really all we've gotten for the most part, except for this movie. This movie kind of kicked the doors in on introducing X-Men characters and gave us Jean Grey. So we know the identity now of the person, and MJ is safe, and he's using that bomb-making equipment to fix his inhibitor chip, which he wasn't able to do without MJ helping him.
Mm-hmm.
They have a really cute moment from other sides of the sheet hanging up there.
Yeah.
Kind of felt like old school them from the old movies.
Yeah.
I like that quite a bit.
Yeah, I think it was a really effective scene. Like you mentioned that the kind of pairing of the three of them, of Frank, of MJ, of Peter, differing personalities. MJ and Frank kind of very strong personalities, neither kind of willing to back down, and Frank being kind of like he was like low-key, he's like kind of like respect to MJ in a way, that in the way he kind of reacts to her. And I like too, they kind of slid in a little glimpse of Frank's backstory for anyone that isn't like well acquainted with the Punisher TV series or the character elsewhere. You see the pictures of his family, and he gets pissed at MJ or whomever it is for looking at it.
Yeah.
He kind of shuts it, and he makes a comment about like losing, I think, the people he loves. I think it was then, it could have been later, but he makes some kind of comment, and he doesn't do some long kind of monologue sharing a story. It's very quick but very effective.
Yeah, he slams the door. He doesn't trauma dump. He's just like, don't touch anything.
Yeah, very much in Frank fashion too. And I also love these kind of scenes in movies where it's like, the heroes are running around, there's all this action, things are moving quickly, there's a lot of stuff going on, and then they kind of get a moment in the middle where they get to slow down. They have to hide away for a little bit. They're on their own. They're figuring out some problem. They're kind of resting, recuperating. Yeah. And it's not a lot of action, but a lot of stuff is happening, and the story's progressing still in small scenes like this.
Yeah, it's good dialogue exchange. Like you said, it's really funny seeing MJ and Frank interact. I mean, he's being rough and gruff and leaves the room, and she's like, I like him.
Yeah. And also you get Frank, it further develops Frank's and Peter's relationship. You could tell there is a respect underlying all the banter and, each other getting pissed off at each other all the time, and he agrees to help him out. And Frank really, you tell he actually does like Peter, and they are on the same side.
Yeah, they like begrudgingly really like each other, which is really funny. A really good dynamic. Peter then gets the alert that the damage control headquarters is under attack, and he splits. tells Frank to stay and guard MJ. After they're having their, who is she to you
Hmm.
conversation, he takes off, and MJ just immediately emerges and is like, you gotta go
Yeah.
be his backup. You gotta go protect him.
Yeah. I love that there's a part of MJ too that's like cares about Peter. I mean,
Mhm.
MJ's a good person in general, so who knows? Maybe she's like, oh, hey, go help him out. But I feel like there's more to it there. There's some part of her that does care about him,
Yeah,
and she
that
recognizes that.
underline, cover him, take care of him.
Yeah. Gotta go.
And I like that a lot with the Ned stuff too. Like with both of them, there's like that little sliver of like something's there, but they can't put their finger on it.
Right.
I kind of like that without it being like, oh wait, I remember everything. Like I
Yeah.
like that they didn't do that.
Hmm.
So Spider-Man heads to the DODC HQ, where we're hearing lots of thuds and slams, and everything's kind of in ruins. Some of the hand ninjas are like beat up and walking out of there.
Hmm.
Um, and it's shown to us that Jean Grey shows to Peter that she has Hulk's inhibitor chip. Um, that it is Hulk who is the one making all those smashing noises that has torn up the place, and that Hulk is being mind controlled by Jean. This was like the coolest shit ever. I think 7-year-old me's brain would have exploded to see Spider-Man and the Hulk
Yes.
in
Yeah.
like this sequence. And then Punisher shows up too. It's like the three of them fighting in this
Hmm.
sequence was like not only shot amazing,
Hmm.
and the choreography was tremendous. It was like seriously the coolest shit I've seen in one of these superhero movies in a very long time. This was
Yeah.
just like the coolest thing I could have ever imagined,
Yeah.
and we got to see it. Like this was so
Mhm.
cool.
Right. I wish I could have seen this pre-COVID because I feel like this would hit even harder for me back then when we really were in Marvel's prime
Hmm.
and in that golden era. And everything they did was just so awesome, and I was like losing my mind at everything that basically was coming out from from the MCU from Marvel Studios.
Yeah.
But it was like you said, it's still awesome to see it now. The pairing of those three, and even just like knowing that the character of Jean Grey was there to get a Spider-Man, Hulk, Punisher, Jean Grey, like 4 characters in one scene is ridiculous. I never thought that would
Yeah.
happen. And two, I love the various type of powers at play, like what Spider-Man can do and how strong he is, but
Hmm.
Hulk can do, how strong he is. Him in his version, he's losing control here. Frank being just a regular, insane guy,
Yelling and shooting.
yeah, with guns, and him kind of getting dragged around and thrown around by
The
Spider-Man.
him being dragged was awesome.
Yeah,
That was so cool.
and him,
Shooting under the
yes,
Hulk the whole time.
yeah. I thought that was
Um,
really cool, kind of pairing of powers and abilities and what everyone brought to the table.
hmm um, Jean kind of loses control of Hulk at one point,
Hmm.
and then Hulk Banner loses control.
Yeah.
Didn't like having his brain messed with, and Big Boy Hulk comes out to play
Hmm.
for the majority of this sequence, while all the damage control guys are hiding in the vault. That is, it was cool. It was very cool when it was Smart Hulk, but the commercials showed us
Hmm.
the other Hulk, and that's who I
Yeah.
was like seriously waiting for, like
Yeah.
this whole scene. I was
I'm
hoping that wasn't a fake out,
right.
that it was going to be Smart Hulk the whole time. But when he grows into the
Just
full
like
size
double the
Hulk
size.
and grabs Peter's head, and it's
Yeah.
like the thumb is like the size of his
Yeah.
head, that was so amazing.
It was great to see that version of the Hulk in general, like for the story purpose, for the fact of what kind of what it brought to the mix of that scene. But like it was so cool looking. Like Smart Hulk, I think was the only thing that didn't work for me in Avengers Endgame. I just think he was just a little annoying in that movie, and that's a whole other
Yeah.
pod. We talk about that another time. But just the look, like Smart Hulk looks CGI-ish, even though full blown Hulk is CGI. There's just something different about him. I think that look is kind of grandfathered in for me from all the previous movies that passed for decades.
It's the fact that the other one looks too much like Ruffalo.
Yeah,
It's
that's
like,
it.
okay, it's a CGI Ruffalo as
Yes.
opposed to this like monster.
That's exactly it. Yes.
Yeah, that was just like seriously like one of the best sequences of the movie is just from the action, just from the shock and awe of it. Like that was Cool. I can't wait to go see this movie again to
Hmm.
specifically see this sequence. We get some really cool Hulk action that we just haven't seen in a long time.
Right.
The stomp and take out the whole floor. The clap, the like
Clap.
thunder clap and like blast Spidey
Hmm.
out the wall. Um, and then him just being wrapped, going around the building and wrapping him up against the
Yeah.
building and fighting with all that stuff tied to him was a really cool way to have that fight wrap
Yeah.
up.
I know you mentioned choreography earlier, I think in our
Mhm.
spoiler free section, even though it's not more so choreography in the sequence, just like the creativity and the different things they did with Spider-Man and his
Mhm.
abilities in this, I really loved the variety. So like you said, him swinging around the building, going in and out of windows to do so too. I love just kind of how that looked and like him just doing something different, having different kind of like technique or
Yeah.
style or move just to take out someone. I
Mhm.
appreciated that.
Yeah, with a foe like unlike anyone he's ever faced in these,
Yeah.
it was cool to see him pull some different stuff out, and
Hmm.
then working alongside Frank. Um, I, another one of the funnier moments of this movie is when Gene is watching the security footage, and it cuts to Frank and Spider-Man arguing. Like you
Yeah.
can't hear them, but they're like
That was
yelling
good.
at each other.
Yeah.
That was really funny.
Hmm.
That got a huge laugh in the theater that I
Hmm.
was in. That one hit. Um, yeah, just like an epic action set piece that was better than one that I think one of these movies has given us in a very long time.
Hmm. Yeah, none of
Um,
these set pieces overall in this movie felt forced. Like I
mhm,
know the Netflixification of movies, as we've talked about a bunch of times, their algorithm has people write scripts around a couple big set pieces.
yeah.
Nothing felt forced set piece wise. It felt like this is where the story's taking us. This would be a cool
Mhm,
place. It makes very logical sense they'd fight here. We also can make this really interesting, and use this kind of unique setting to do different cool things specific to that setting. So none of
yeah.
these set pieces felt forced, but they all seemed very effective to me.
There's one thing in a lot of these superhero movies and just action movies in general that kind of drives me crazy, and it's the like a character, is flung or flies away from the fight, and then where they land, it feels like a set. It feels like they've
Yeah,
landed in the
yeah,
set. There wasn't a single moment like that in this movie,
yeah.
and I liked it. It was really refreshing because
Hmm.
I've that definitely happened in the previous Spider-Man in No Way Home when they're up on the Empire State Building, and then the shield falls and the shield rolls off to the
Hmm.
side, and then they're fighting later, and then they land on the shield and get to
Yeah,
fight on the shield. Like all that stuff is just kind of like, come on.
yeah.
There was not a single one of those in this movie. Like everything, like you said, there were set pieces, but they served the story. They felt organic. None of it felt forced. Like, all right, it's time for minute 40's big action. It was never anything like that. It just kind of flowed in and out,
Hmm.
and it was never nonstop action, and it was never too much time without a little bit of action. Like it just was always kind of present without overtaking the story, and it always served the story. I thought that was really well done in this.
Hmm.
Um, so after we leave the coolest fucking fight we've seen in a superhero movie in a long time, we go back to Frank's boathouse where Peter finds that MJ has found his letter that he
Mm.
wrote to her 4 years prior. The letter that he wrote after her memory was wiped along with everyone else's, and he was going to make her remember that they were in love. Um, that he chickened out of reading to her. She read it and really challenged him with it. Um, did you leave this here for me? This wasn't me. You obviously didn't do what the other version of me asked.
Hmm.
I mean, she gave him the shit that he deserved. Confesses his love, and she's just like, I don't love you. Like,
I don't know you, man.
I don't know you. Brutal, but like really on character.
Hmm.
Um, Similar to the other scene where like, oh, the true love's kiss scene. If she had handled that well, it would have been just as eye rolly as the true love's kiss broke the curse kind of thing. Like
definitely.
No, her character was served by her getting pissed and challenging him on this.
Hmm.
I thought that was really effective. This leads to she goes to leave and comes back and is like, I actually don't have my phone. Can you take me home?
Yeah.
And the web swinging. I was waiting for kind of like a you used to hate this or kind of thing like that. There was no comment like that. He was just heartbroken, dropped her off,
Way
and
more emotionally effective that there was no conversation.
yeah, that it didn't cut it with a joke or anything like that. Um, but then she extends the olive branch and is like, "Do you want to come upstairs and have a play date?"
I think this
um,
was my favorite scene in the movie. I'll let you kind of describe it, but this is, I think, my favorite scene in this movie.
no, it's Ned and Peter in full Spider-Man costume just build some Legos and nerd out. Like it was really good. They're
Also,
quoting Lord of the Rings, they're
yeah,
building Star Wars Legos. It
hmm,
was cool.
I love that when they first come into the scene, Ned's tracking Spider-Man and MJ's like, "Hey, like, look at this or whatever," and then Spider-Man walks in and Ned
Yeah.
drops his phone. I think in every movie there's like a scene of Ned like surprised and
Hmm.
dropping something. I know the Lego Death Star was the big one in Homecoming,
Hmm.
but there's always something like Ned doing that.
Yeah, that I thought it was really funny. That whole scene, just the all right, keep your secrets was really funny.
It was
Um,
so effective. Like there's so many emotionally effective choices in this
mhm,
movie. Like you talked a lot really well about the choices of MJ and when it was really Jean Grey and when it was MJ and when she was calling, giving Peter shit for certain things and they
mhm,
didn't take the easy, soft way out of, oh, she remembers or oh, she like was
yeah,
really nice about it. Like they found the way that would affect the characters the most emotionally, affect us the most emotionally, make things harder on them really well in a story perspective and kind of propel the story forward in real, interesting in different ways.
mhm,
And with this, all movie, we haven't gotten the old MJ, Ned, and Peter kind of trio hanging out. They're all very, Peter's very separate from them. They're living a different life now where they don't remember everything that happened in the past, obviously. And so we get a little glimpse of them back together. And clearly,
yeah,
those, the underlying things that made them best friends are still there, even though Ned and MJ don't, Ned more so doesn't realize it. And, they're not in that reality anymore. But we kind of got the trio back for a scene. I thought it was really effective. And for a fan, like it gets you like pulls the heartstrings to see that. It makes you care
mhm.
about these people even more. So I
No,
love that for a bunch of reasons.
it really worked, and I think it worked. Like you said, like it would have worked a lot less. A lesser movie would have given us that they both remembered and then gave us the scene where
Yeah.
oh things are back to normal, but it didn't. It gave us that same feeling even though they didn't remember yet,
Hmm.
and it just is organic. Like they are like three peas in a pot. Like they are just like the three best friends, and
Yeah.
letting them just exist in that moment instead of like forcing this like big reveal that oh my gosh, wait, we were best friends for so long and like oh my god, we dated. It was like it just organically happened, and like Peter was in such a low spot throughout this movie, probably throughout the last 4 years.
Yeah.
So for him to get this to like sit cross-legged on the ground and build Legos with
Hmm.
his friend, he was even doing the handing the pieces over to Ned and Ned's building it, and um all the Spidey tracker stuff was earlier. But asking about the webbing and
Yeah.
oh, did you use this with nylon? Did you nerding out over the stuff.
Oh,
That whole scene worked. It was like really the heartbeat of the movie
yeah.
was their relationship, and the movie is just like an extra 2 points better because it didn't shatter how the previous one ended. I feel like that was something I was kind of like waiting for the whole time was
Same.
like, are they gonna cheap out
Yeah. They can undo everything
on
really
No Way Home?
quickly.
Yeah. Like, oh, the snap happened and it's undone. Like
Yeah.
things are, oh, this character's dead and they're back. And it's like there's always that pull. And I do expect in some capacity for these things to be
Hmm.
reversed, at least for Ned and MJ. Not the whole world, but like just for his
Right.
two closest people to be
Hmm.
back into his world would be really nice to see. And like we want it, but I'm so happy we didn't get it.
Yeah, they're gonna make us work for it, which I think is the right choice.
Mm-hmm.
Much better payoff in the end.
It will be better in a movie or two. Like if they can do this to us one more time and give us a great movie without shattering that,
Mm-hmm.
that'd be amazing. And even Yelena noticed that he benefited from having friends, because the next scene is his phone call with Yelena,
Yes.
getting into the nitty gritty of the damage control fight.
Mm-hmm.
And then they pop into the background, and
Just
like, oh,
the goofiness of them
that's
there,
funny.
and like,
Yeah.
get out, go.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the goofy kids, like, even though they're older now, but they're still the
Still
goofy
them.
kids. Yelena is like if she's on screen, it is a great time. Like
She works in like
Florence
anything.
Pugh chews it up with
Yeah.
charisma. So after that, this was probably the only lull in the movie for me, was the Jean Grey past. Where it's, showing her and her sister, and that they had kind of been abandoned from their mother, and we learn a lot really quick, and it kind of fills in some of the gaps of other things that we had known. They're both telepaths, or telekinetic.
It was I read up on it afterwards. They start off as telepaths, as they both are.
Okay.
And then later on, when Jean kind of evolves a little bit, she gets like telekinetic, I think it was like psionic powers. But yeah, I think the first scene they start off as telepaths at this point.
Okay.
Yep.
So they're learning about their powers. The older sister obviously is the one a little more advanced. She's teaching the younger sister. They're, teasing each other about being abandoned, and it was fine. It was just, for me, it was one of those, like, let's take a pause and reveal this character's trauma and why they've been behaving the way they behave.
I think it was necessary.
Yeah.
Because it would have felt almost a little too random for Jean Grey to be the quote unquote villain up until this point, or her doing what she's doing without it. I'm glad that they didn't linger on it longer.
Yeah. It could have been a little shorter for me.
Yeah.
But
They don't. We get these a lot in a lot of these movies, their backstory, their trauma, something happens, the flashback, all that kind of stuff. So I'm glad it wasn't drawn out any longer than it was. I felt like it was effective enough. Establishes she's looking for her sister. You get the one line about their mom, which I'm glad they don't monologue about it, because I would have felt very like, people don't just like rant about this stuff like this. Like, they're going to talk about it a certain way, or they've already lived it. They're not going to, they're going to kind of touch upon it, and that's it. So for viewers' sake, I'm glad they didn't waste too much time on it. I felt like it was necessary.
It was
a
necessary,
slower part,
and it was handled well.
Yeah, but I get what you mean, though. It, like, everything else was moving at a really nice pace, and was just like, wow, this is really great. It's okay, we're kind of taking a breather, learning a little backstory. We'll jump back to the current story.
Because, like, 10 minutes prior, the Hulk and Spider-Man were fighting, and then we get, orphan sisters on a park bench for a little bit, and it definitely just slowed down the pace of the movie.
I will say I'm very glad that they didn't do it earlier in the movie, because they easily could have dumped this scene and told us who she was really early, but we were getting the vibe of her little by little, and then they go, okay, now that you've sat with this character for long enough, now you can see what her backstory is and put some more pieces together.
I agree. It definitely served the story by coming in later. And we kind of glossed over it before, but the damage control headquarters fight ended with the inhibitor chip that Peter made for to put on her. He ended up getting it on her, and damage control took her away. So that leaves us with Jean, remembering her trauma. She is now being experimented on. And she learns it's the same way her sister was being experimented on. She has been trying to find her sister, trying to figure out VMAX, what VMAX is, because that's the message that her sister got to her. And then she never heard from her again. And it kind of boils up to the realization that her sister died during an experimentation. The last thing she saw before that big burst was the Vent Max label with the, sticker peeled. So staring up at the ceiling during a torture session is what revealed the VMAX in the story. It wasn't some, serum or MacGuffin thing behind, a vault or anything like that. Which, like, thank God, like
Yeah,
something
I'm
called
so
being that. Yeah,
relieved. Had
yeah.
enough MacGuffins.
It's a syringe that turns anyone into a powerful mutant.
There'll be another super soldier for the 100th time.
Yeah, super soldier serum 10. um, yeah, that I thought that was effective. The her being kind of like tortured and experimented on, um, which I didn't like quite understand what their goal was. It was
Yeah,
like to use that person to
they're
control other people. It was like
studying
we
their
want that power for
brainwaves to.
good.
Yeah,
It's
I
like,
don't
do you think
know.
anyone could just do it? Because it
Right.
feels like it has to be a very specific person with that ability,
True.
and they just
That
keep
is.
killing them.
Yeah, that's a good point because I feel like we've seen so much like superhero powered people type of stories and properties at this point. It's always like we are doing study them to recreate their abilities or to control them or do X, Y, and Z.
Hmm.
They didn't specify how they would use them. At first, I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
they're studying brainwaves, and then I didn't really think past that. But is studying their brainwaves to what? Like you said, to control
Hmm.
them, to recreate it. What are they doing
Just to see
here?
if any average Joe or soldier could use it. Like, they didn't really need to explain it. I feel like
Right.
a 3-minute scene of them explaining it, we'd be sitting here being like, didn't really need that exposition
Yeah.
right before the final climactic
Right.
moment. But yeah, it was just a little. It was like one of the few things I was a little confused about.
That's a good point.
Um, and they ramp up her shit. They're blasting her with these waves and symbols and stuff, and she basically Wanda visions. Not doesn't put other people in a different reality, but freezes a huge dome of people. And you just saw it today. Was it a mile or a kilometer radius
A
from
kilometer.
a kilometer from
Yeah.
Roosevelt,
Mhm.
all the way around? Pretty wild. Large radius for people who are just frozen,
Yeah.
waiting for God knows what.
Mhm.
Um, but Peter's trying to get to her. They're experimenting on her, and she's kind of broken through. She kind of powers up while in this situation,
Mhm.
and that leads to probably the second best fight that we've had in this movie, where it's Spider-Man against the mind-controlled hand ninjas.
Yes. Yep.
That was so fucking cool.
Mhm.
The Them working in tandem, climbing up each other and
Yes. Each
fighting. I
person
thought that
jumping
was
and
so
jumping off
cool.
of
Yeah.
them.
Even the Spider-Man stuff was really cool. I mean, before he started getting his ass kicked, but
Mhm.
the um the merging of the Peter and the Spider-Man using the power,
Mhm.
that was really cool.
Yeah.
Organic webbing.
Mhm. I love to like during the scene, the thought hit me where you get a lot of like final battle or penultimate scenes in these superhero movies. Like I know the Marvel problem for a lot
Mhm.
of the MCU's existence has been all right, Act 3, big fight, all the kind of usual beats they kind of hit, and it's like all right,
Yeah.
great, the same
Bring
thing
out the
again.
gray version of the hero who's
Yeah,
bad.
yeah, they bring out the opposite version, and they're super strong, and they're flying around, and they're trading punches, and
Mhm.
that's kind of it. Where this, it's like let's have a creative scene of Spider-Man and a group of the Hand, so powered individual, non-powered individual, different types of abilities, different fighting styles. Yes, that's big and important to the movie and the story, but it's
Mhm.
not like the Battle of New York and this is a huge fight that they're destroying the city or whatever. It's like in one room, they're using the room, the setting really well, and
Mhm.
it just felt different, but as effective, if not more. And then I know you'll get into the next scene in a second with Jean, and I felt just the way they handled the penultimate and the ultimate scene, just the handling, the direction with it was much better and different than a lot of what the MCU has done historically.
It was way more tactfully done,
Hmm.
and especially emotionally. Like, it allowed
Yes,
for really cool action set piece, and then right into the emotionality of the stakes of this scene.
yeah,
And I thought that
even
was really well done.
right, and even like you mentioned, the merging the Peters, like that kind of theme and that story thread they
Hmm.
tied in well, where it's like he's been fighting him changing this whole time, but trying to
Hmm.
be himself. Then it's like, no, like I'm good, I'm both actually, and he showed how he combined both, like using that change and this extra ability and power to his advantage, but keeping his, values and morals and ethics about himself, where
Hmm.
he overpowers the hand, shows how strong he is, but then he throws the one guy towards like the broken pipe, but he snags him right before he gets impaled by this pipe.
Before he's, yeah.
And he's like, okay, he's like, Peter is new and different, but he's still the same. He's still like core Peter there.
Hmm.
So I think those
Just
were tied really
leveled up.
nicely. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Embracing it. And that was kind of like, for the most part, that was the climax of Peter's development in this
Mm-hmm.
movie, because the movie really shifts to Jean after this point. That was kind of like Spider-Man's level up moment, being good, being powerful, overcoming his challenges. That happened right at that, the hand fight. That was really awesome. But there's still some movie left, and it allowed Peter to then go from, he's already learned his lesson, he was the hero, and it allows him to then kind of step in and like serve the rest of the story in that emotional way,
Mm-hmm.
which was what Gene needed.
Yeah.
He gets Gene to not kill Tremel Tillman.
Also, real quick, when he busts through that door into the room
Oh,
with her, that just looked really fucking cool. I'm gonna be
mhm.
honest.
Really well done
Yeah.
action, slow mo. Like, it was shot very beautifully. It was
Mm-hmm.
not the superhero movies of 10 years ago, or at least the subpar versions of them that we've had the last 10 years, where I don't know.
Yeah.
I can't think of a really cool action set piece that I've thought about like I have these ones.
Yeah.
And Shang-Chi, I really liked a lot of the set pieces and the fight choreography in that one, and
Mm-hmm.
it's the same team, so you can
True.
tell this guy really brings it in a fresh new way that these
Definitely.
movies were in desperate need of.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I wanted to just shout out him busting through
No,
the
I'm
door
glad you
and
did, because
sliding on it.
that was really cool, and just sliding right up to it, the
Mm-hmm.
glass floating, kind of reminiscent of Infinity War, with Doctor Strange being
Mm-hmm.
surrounded with all the shards of whatever space glass
Yeah.
needles.
Space needles,
Yeah.
microsurgery.
Yep. So he does get to Jean, gets her to stand down. She kind of threatens going in his mind, and he's just
Mm-hmm.
like, just
All right.
fucking do it.
Yeah.
And she does. And she gets to sit on the couch with Marissa Tomei, which, what more could you ask for? No, it was a really sweet scene. It was a
It
nice
was.
way of bringing back Aunt May without it being like, oh, so Aunt May's back after being, killed in the last one.
Yeah.
That was that driving force, but it's like, that's that core memory for Peter. So
Yes.
when she steps into Peter's mind, she's stepping into that core memory, and it
Mm-hmm.
was just like exactly what she needed to hear. It
Yeah.
was, things are changing, it's scary, everything's going to be okay.
Yeah.
Advice from
We love
Marissa
you for
Tomei,
you.
from Aunt May. Yeah.
And as they did with the third Tom Holland Spider-Man, they made Aunt May Tom Holland's version of Uncle Ben, which we
Mm-hmm.
know I mentioned before, kind of doing things in reverse with the MCU Spider-Man versus the previous installments and
Mm-hmm.
franchises. And a lot of times in the other franchises, the other Peters would think back to Uncle Ben and his words, and you might have a quick Uncle Ben
Yeah.
flashback, and like him being kind of that guiding light. Where in this, we're getting kind of the Aunt May as the guiding light on the back end, and she still was kind
That's a
of
good
the
point. I
core.
didn't even think of that, but we definitely got both Uncle Ben flashbacks
Mm-hmm.
in, I believe, both Spider-Man 2s. The Amazing Spider-Man 2 and Spider-Man 2 both featured an Uncle Ben memory
Mm-hmm.
flashback. So yeah, not out of place. Heartfelt, and then he gets to sit in, and he comforts her and is like,
Yeah.
hey, you're not alone. Like,
Mm-hmm.
the lonely guy Peter is like, hey, I'm here, and we can do this together.
Mm-hmm.
Which is kind of like that part 2 of his development in this movie. Of
Absolutely.
his arc was overcoming his mutations, his challenges, learning how to balance the power and self, and then stepping into that mentor role that he's always had over his shoulder.
Yeah.
Him getting to step into that role and comfort a troubled young hero. Well, I guess villain in this in this movie. People are dead. But I thought that was really, really well done.
Mm-hmm.
Him stepping into that role as the mentor. Um, and this scene ends with the gun flash, which I thought was really cool. The tunnel
Yeah.
in the memory, the Spidey sense tunnel with the gun flash at the end of it was cool.
Mm-hmm.
And he takes the shot. He protects Jean. Um, it was the gunshot was Frank. They showed earlier him opening up the giant briefcase with like the biggest fucking gun
Yeah, the
that's
biggest
ever
sniper
been
you've
in one of
ever seen.
these
Yeah.
any of these movies. And Peter just absolutely eats it to the back.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and doesn't take it well. This kind of sets up this final stretch of this movie is like Spider-Man essentially in a coma. Um, fans are out in the streets cheering for him, hoping that he recovers. The news is talking about him, and Frank is sitting by his side, and that Jean is using her powers to basically keep him alive.
Right.
Um, again, really good. I'm glad this movie didn't end with a funeral, as
Mhm.
many Spider-Man movies do.
Yeah.
They end at a gravesite almost every single time. And yeah, they always feature Spider-Man saving a woman from a high ledge fall, and they always end in a funeral. At least this one dodges the latter of the two.
Mm-hmm.
Um, John Bernthal as Frank in this scene was like seriously. So I was like tears, not tears, but like just like emotional laughing through this
Mm-hmm.
scene was like really nice. Of like the two of them just kind of like laughing about like, are you crying?
Yeah.
And like just busting each other's balls and stuff was
Yeah.
just really funny.
Yeah. I loved Frank also saying like, he's like, you look exactly like how I thought you would look.
That was really nice. Yeah,
Mhm.
just some nice kid. Like
Yeah,
you just
nice
looked like
kid.
some nice kid.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that like little bit of parentage coming out of Frank, softening him, as Spider-Man has that effect on people, and he's not immune to it.
Mm-hmm.
And then just a really good gag of his like, oh, I got a plan to get you out of here.
Yeah. Which one is a genius plan. No one knows what it looks like. Have him walk out, and then obviously have Frank wear the mask. But then Frank just waving and thumbs up and hamming it up. That was
just
great.
yeah, being ridiculous.
Yeah. They had
That
a big
was
laugh
great.
in my theater for sure.
Yeah, that was probably the second biggest.
Also, I want to say too, I don't know if you're about to touch on this, when he does leave and he walks out in the crowd and he takes his moment to kind of look at everyone and look up at Frank, and like it's probably not often he can just sit amongst the people and like actually soak in like people being thankful for him and like truly appreciate him. Like I thought that was really effective, and that might have been like my third favorite scene in this movie. Just watching him kind of sit in that and like, okay, like not that it isn't worth it anyways, but it's like it's all worth it in the end. Like this, like the people actually care and are thankful that I do what I do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that also would have been a pretty good time for like a J. Jonah Jameson scene. Like he's a menace.
Which I'm surprised. Honestly, I'm surprised we didn't get him in here. I guess.
Me too.
I'm kind of glad we didn't. I feel like it would have been out of place. But I'm surprised though.
Save him for the next one.
Yeah,
because he's one of my favorite characters. But yeah, there wasn't really a spot for him in this story. But Spider-Man's alive. Jean is heading upstate. On a bus, or
maybe
was it bus or train?
It was on a bus. Maybe to a school, perhaps.
Perhaps a school for gifted youngsters.
If that exists yet.
Yeah, we'll see. And the very last scene after that is Peter and Ned running into each other at that little shop once more. And Peter doing the handshake on him. Kind of almost leave, and then approached him. It's like, hey, I'm Peter. And then does the handshake, and muscle memory takes over. And the last line of the movie is Ned's Peter.
Yeah. Which
that was good.
Yeah. When it was like ambiguous enough where it's like, is he remembering, or is he just like,
did he just connect the dots that MJ called Spider-Man Peter earlier?
Right.
It's like one of the two. It is, or is he like, remembered.
Exactly.
Effective. Good way. I thought it was a good ending.
for sure.
ended on that little upbeat of the hospital and then him being in the crowd with people. Um, the movie freaking worked on me, dude. I love Spider-Man, and I mean we will be getting into our Spider-Man rankings in just a moment, but this one really worked on me, and I had a
Yeah.
lot of fun with it. I don't really have much negative criticism whatsoever. I really thoroughly enjoyed my theater
Hmm.
experience, my time and just like reflecting on this. I mean, I like this one a lot.
Hmm. Now I feel the same way. Not much that I can think of that I'd really be nitpicky. Everything worked really
Hmm.
well for me. I feel like we hadn't had a Spider-Man movie in 4.5 years. MCU's been putting out a lot of duds for the last few years as well. So it was nice kind of just going in like, all right, this is going to be what it is.
Yeah,
It'll be good, but was just really get to enjoy it. And that you're just able to kind of enjoy it without really having much stakes to it at all. Um, Overall, I had a good time. I like the direction with Spider-Man, kind of catapulting him in a different direction, becoming more of that mentor leader. I wonder if they're going to use him in a capacity where he is more of a leadership role in the grander MCU, maybe even for like the mutants that might come in eventually.
I hope
Um,
so.
we'll see. But I also liked Jean Grey as kind of like the pseudo villain for a lot of this. The
Hmm.
fact they didn't have like an outright villain, but they're a little bit more creative with it.
Yeah,
It gave me flavors of like Thunderbolts.
I was gonna draw that
Yeah,
comparison.
with like the villain-ish type of setup and also the ending where it was kind
Hmm.
of like more
We're not punching our way out of
psychological.
this
Yeah,
one. It's like you have to kind of emotionally crack through
right,
to the person who's in crisis.
right, exactly.
And you know what? Yeah, they were very similar endings, but outside of like Guardians of the Galaxy 3, I think Thunderbolts and Spider-Man Brand New Day are two of my favorite movies in the post Endgame MCU. I
Oh,
think
absolutely.
they're the most effective. And I felt the same way about like Doctor Strange when that came out, where the ending wasn't him beating to death the villain of the story. I mean, he the trapped with Dormammu and using the time loop and just kind of like thinking his way out of that
Hmm.
problem was like a really refreshing ending
Yeah,
compared to the gray version of the hero, you know, the Ironmonger, the Abomination, the it's
the
always
end of
like
WandaVision.
yep, it's always like a CGI flying around fight.
Yep.
Um and it's like I mean, we've talked about it a bunch of times. Like Marvel seriously had a third act problem and it had a villain problem for a
Hmm.
long time.
For sure.
They were starts of these movies were amazing, they're fun, they're bright, and then it's like, oh, a dark, dreary, repetitive fight,
Yeah.
and that's how they always ended.
Hmm.
Um, and it's different now, and I think I like that they're at least trying something different.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, so do you have a Spider-Man Brand New Day out of 5 popcorn buckets prepared?
I've given this movie a 4.5 popcorn buckets out of 5. Part of me is like, is this recency bias? Is this just me being a Marvel fan? But I think I've been very honest and very hard on Marvel the last 5 years, which I think is very well deserved. But I also think this movie deserves 4.5 popcorn buckets out of 5.
I can't say I disagree with you. Like I said, I don't have much negative criticism.
Hmm.
I went with 4. I went with
Okay.
a 4 out of 5, but a very strong 4.
Are we allowed to do half buckets? Is that
Yeah, yeah, you're
oh,
allowed to do
okay?
half a bucket. I can edit half a bucket off.
There you go. Fix it in post. It's fine.
Yeah. um, the yeah, the movie was really good, and I want to sit on a little more, and I would like to go see it again.
Mhm.
I plan on going to see it again very soon. I think it's definitely worth seeing twice. Like it was so much fun, and like Spider-Man is the biggest of the superheroes. I mean, you can argue Superman or Batman. I think Superman is past his prime, even though I really liked the Superman movie, the
Same.
David Cornsweet one. I
Hmm.
liked it a lot. Superman just isn't what Superman was in like the 70s. It's just an iconic figure.
Yeah.
There's a lot more meat on the bone with other heroes. Batman's always super profitable.
Hmm.
Spider-Man is the GOAT. Spider-Man has always been my favorite. These movies are just so fun. Like even the bad ones, I love to watch because I just love watching Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
The only superhero that I've ever owned comic books for, like Spider-Man is the best, and to get like the MCU being in a really difficult spot recently, and then getting this movie, it felt really special, and it felt really special in the theaters too, because
Yeah.
that's what it felt like everyone else was feeling during it. Like everyone was super pumped to be out in movies watching Spider-Man again,
Mm-hmm.
and I think this one's going to dominate the box office.
I know the opening weekend projections are super high after like Thursday, Friday showings.
Mm-hmm.
And I checked just to kind of do a quick refresher before we recorded this. So this is, Sunday night opening weekend. And at that time, the box office total listed on their Wikipedia page was like 927 million. And that's
That's
absurd.
crazy.
They said it was tracking to
It
beat
plays
Endgame.
huge overseas too. Like this is
Okay.
a massive Spider-Man is huge in other countries.
Gotcha.
And
Makes
I think the
sense.
Chinese market is going to have a lot to do with a good chunk of that international spending.
I really, really hope this dethrones James Cameron's Avatar. Please knock it off its pedestal again. We don't need that to be
I'm
the
not an
number one
Avatar
movie.
guy either.
Yeah.
And I'd rather it be done in like record speed as opposed to
Freaking
which
re-release.
we'll end up talking about later. Endgame's coming back into theaters.
Yeah.
Much like Avatar has been back in theaters too. I love watching old movie like anniversary screenings of movies. I hate the idea or the thought that they're putting these movies out just to like leapfrog each other in
Yeah.
all-time box office
So
earnings.
annoying.
It feels so icky, and I don't want to go
Feels so icky.
see Avatar or
Yeah.
Endgame in theaters, but I'll go see Ferris Bueller in theaters.
Mhm.
Like I'll go see any older movie, any
Mhm.
like 20-year anniversary. Yes, I will go see those movies in theaters, but
Mhm.
I'm not going to go see one of these like already got $2.5 billion and
Yeah.
they're just like, let's squeeze a little more juice out of this.
Mhm.
I don't like it. But that's a conversation for another day.
Whole other episode. Yeah.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Popcorn in the Face. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure you're following us on Instagram at Popcorn in the Face Pod for episode updates, behind the scenes content, and all of our movie opinions. New episodes will be available on Wednesdays on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts, so be sure to hit subscribe so you never miss one. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.